Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Live Strong podcast. We are already on episode 16. 1-6. Can you believe I've made 16 of these bad boys? You should really let me know if you listen to all of them because I think you deserve a medal because I have been raving on for, what would that be, like maybe 8-ish hours to all via the podcast. So thank you so much to everyone who's listened, liked, subscribed, followed, done all the things. I do appreciate it because this is a lot of fun for me and it's actually a bit of a creative outlet, which I've said before. I feel like it's a fun work thing, you know? So thank you for watching and listening along. This might be your first episode. If it is, hello, I'm Olivia. I'm a gym owner and I just talk random crap on this podcast, which is a slay. Now today, if you're watching visually, you'll see that I've got my margarita shirt on today. This was a cheap find off like Shein or Temu or something, but very soft and buttery. And guys, I'm in my bridal era. The bridal era is well and truly upon us. I am less than a week until I go on my hens. And this morning I woke up, I'm recording and uploading this all on one day. So this is a Friday. Woke up and I just felt like today was the day that the bridal era was really going to begin. The hens era, I've begun the hens journey today. Like I've just got my hair done. If you can see, she's looking fresh. But yeah, I'm feeling very festive, which I guess is good. But yes, next Thursday, I head off on my hens, the Olivia Hens extravaganza that goes for like 5 days. So cannot wait. I'm so excited. So that is what I'm looking forward to at the moment, but that's not what we're here to talk about today, guys. There's going to be more wedding chit chat on the podcast over the next few weeks. We've got 8 weeks till the wedding, but today we're going to talk about running. Slay. Now, for those who know me and maybe know a bit about my life, I am not a runner. I do not classify myself as a runner at all. However, I have been on a few little running journeys, let's call it. I've trained and ran City to Surf, which is a 14-kilometer run, like a fun run in Sydney, twice now. So I've done it twice. 14 kilometers for some probably isn't a long way. For others, is a really long way. For me, when I first did it, the furthest I'd ever ran was 5 kilometers, and I had only done that a small amount of time, and I'd never run any more than that. So every week I was like hitting a PB, like 6 kilometers and 7 kilometers, and you know, it was a really amazing journey. Did my first City to Surf with one of my best friends, Laura. We were on the same journey together. She as well had not run very far. I think she ran a bit further than me before we started, but definitely not over 10K. So that was a journey. We did that. It was good, except in the run, we ran the whole way, no stopping, which was our goal. But I did sort of die. Compared to our training where I'd ran 13 or 14 Ks before the 14 hill to City to Surf. The City to Surf, I died the whole time. I was like, I can't do it. So it was a pretty shit run, to be honest. But then I trained and ran it again last year with a team from the gym. We got a bunch of us together and we did, I think it was about a 10-week training program that I wrote up for the guys, and we went and we smashed it. And it was an amazing, amazing journey, amazing training plan and an amazing event. Everyone had a pretty good run. It's hard. For those who don't know, the City to Surf run is known for its hills. It's a hill run. And it's there's this part called Heartbreak Hill, and it's just over a K of straight uphill. And everyone's always like, oh, Heartbreak Hill. But to be fair, guys, the whole thing is hills. It's uphill, downhill, up a really big long hill, and then up, down, all the way to the end. So it's a pretty hard run in itself. But like I said, we did team from the gym, did that last year. A lot of those guys had not done any running before, and it was a really, really huge achievement. I was so proud of them all. And look, running is a trend at the moment, isn't it? Like we see it everywhere. We see everyone doing their running, their high rocks. Like this whole functional health is sort of taking over the internet, our social media and stuff. And to be honest with you, like I don't really like running that much. It's not my favorite activity. It has benefits, it has things that aren't that great. Like I see all of the things of it, right? But I do believe in challenging yourself, and I believe in pushing yourself to a limit that you don't think you can go to. And, that feeling of overcoming what you thought you could never achieve is a feeling that's unmatched. And, self-development and self-improvement is one of the greatest parts of being a human, I believe. Like really becoming the next version of yourself. And I do believe that for running, for a lot of people, it's a big limiting belief. Like there's this big brick wall up where people are like, I can't do that. And that's what gets said out loud. That's what they tell themselves. I can't run 5Ks. I can't run 10Ks. I can't run full stop. And that's the end of the story. And they actually could do those things if they put in the time, the energy, the action to do it. But, they're sort of putting themselves in their own way. They're stopping themselves, right? So that's the thing that I love about running and loving with getting our clients to do running is the whole idea that it is, challenging them, stepping them outside of their comfort zone, and it is transforming them to, the next level of human. Because I think it teaches you a lot more things than just running. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still a strength and conditioning gal. Running actually leads to a lot of injuries. And if you are not strong enough, you are not going to be a very good runner, or you're going to run and you aren't going to injure yourself, right? So I still always preach strength training, no matter what sport you do in this world, no matter what athletes are around, they all do strength and conditioning training, right? So, and there's a reason for that. And general population, it's even more important that we also perform strength and conditioning for our body to perform all of these other sort of activities. So this is sort of like an extra thing that we do at the gym is our running. Our gym is not becoming a running gym. We're not becoming like a cardio-based gym. We're definitely a strength and conditioning gym. This is just something else that we do to sort of challenge ourselves, right? So the whole reason why we've decided to talk about running today on the podcast is because the Live Strong team are doing the Hill to Harbour run on the 6th of April in Newcastle, which essentially is a playoff city to surf, I'd call it. I don't really know if that's the vibe, but it sort of is. Like the idea is that it's a fun run, you're going to conquer a hill and you're going to do the run, right? The Hill to Harbour run, there's both the option to do a 12-kilometre run and a 6-kilometre run, which I love that there's two different, levels, because I think the 6-kilometre is a really good entry point for a lot of people. And then the 12 obviously is that little bit further, or it's a lot further, it's double, and it's that different sort of a challenge. So depending on where you are will depend on what you would commit to, right? So we've got a bunch of clients from the gym who've already committed to do this Hill to Harbour. I have delivered the team a 10-week running program to get them prepared for this event. We've got both a program for those doing the 6-kilometre run and those doing the 12-kilometre run, because obviously, we need different things because they're different distances. Now, like you're probably thinking, well, Olivia, how can you write a running program when you're not, an elite runner, when you're not, an advanced runner yourself, all these sorts of things. And don't get me wrong, I would never deliver a running program to someone at an elite level when there is more specific training needed. However, as a coach and, as someone who, I've definitely been in the industry for a really long time, so I do feel like I have quite a big brain in terms of health and conditioning and training and all the things. Definitely not the smartest person in the world, that's for sure, but I do have a lot of experience. So what I can deliver in this running program is progressive overload. I can deliver recovery management. I can deliver load management. And I know my clients. So I know that I can get them to where they need to be from where they are now type of situation. So these running programs wouldn't be suitable for every single person under the sun, but for our group of clients who majority of them are starting from a very, very beginner level as a runner, this is going to get them there, right? So I wanted to make this podcast for those out there who maybe are starting their running journey as well, but also specifically for my Hill to Harbour gang who are we've just started their 10-week running journey this week, and I wanted to sort of summarize what are the basics you need to start your running journey? Like, how do you start? What do beginners need to know? And, what few tips can I give you to make this process of starting your running journey better? So if you want to learn a few quick tips on how you can get into running, you can, start off successful in your running journey, listen up, people. Okay, tip number 1. Now, this is probably the most important tip, so let's start with her. And that is go slow. Everyone thinks that when you run, it's like a sprint. It's not, especially for what, like at the moment, the guys who are doing the Hill to Harbour, the goal for us is to reach a distance because that's what the event is, right? And, for some people, it's the distance. Maybe they've done the distance and maybe they're trying to get times and stuff like that. But for people who are beginning, a lot of the time it's to go further or do more, okay? So my biggest tip is to start slow. You want to start your runs at a pace where you could pretty much talk. And you might be thinking, Olivia, I could never talk and run. If you couldn't talk and run for at least the first quarter of your run, you are running too fast, okay? Too fast. Your run might almost look like a walk. It might just be this real light, gentle movement. But that might be where we need to start to get there in the long game. Now, I'm basing this comment more on people who are going for a longer run for themselves. So if you're doing sprints or intervals or stuff like that, obviously that's going to be a different story, guys. Like if you're doing intervals or sprints, you're sending it. But let's say your goal was to, like this morning, our goal was to run 3 or 6 kilometers. And for a lot of the guys, they hadn't done that non-stop, right? 3 or 6 kilometers. So today, our mission was to start slow and finish faster. And that will continue to be our goal, especially as we extend our distance. Start slow. We want to try and keep that heart rate down, and that's not going to happen if you've got your heart rate at max in the first 2 minutes, right? So don't be afraid to be slower than you normally would go, especially when you're going to be creating a distance that you've never done before. So when you turn around and come back on that second half, ideally, you're actually going to be faster. So if you think that you've let everything out of the tank already to start with, then you've got nothing to give to bring you home, okay? So my first tip is start slow, which takes us to the second tip, which I almost dove into there, and that is to try and keep your heart rate down. Now, that is going to go hand in hand with your starting slow and not doing a sprint and not sort of exerting yourself straight away, but that's also going to come with breathing, okay? Heart rate down happens from proper breathing. Now, we want to try and keep a nice steady breath throughout our run. We don't want to be panting for 40 minutes. If you're panting for 40 minutes, that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the soul, guys. So we want to try and keep the heart rate down. Now, at Livestrong, we've actually done 2 workshops with a naturopath. Her name is Rebecca Nutter, and she's a deep water diver. That's sort of like her elite sport she does, but she's done a lot of sports and works with a lot of athletes as well. But a lot of the work she does is on breath work, okay? And we've done a lot of work with her with trying to utilize nose breathing. So breathing in through your nose and out through your nose to try and control your heart rate. Now, don't worry, guys. I've been with you and have heard what you just heard and thought, so you're telling me I'm going to be puffing and you want me to close my mouth and breathe through my nose? Sounds insane, but this shit works. It is going to help you regulate that heart rate. Like I said, the whole time, maybe not, but even for the first quarter, if we can extend controlling that heart rate to maybe more than what we did the run before, it's only going to benefit us. So a little tip to try and control is to try and start to utilize breathing through your nose. So This might be, if you can, breath in and breath out from the nose. So your lips are literally sealed and breathing like that. At first, our body takes a second to adjust, but then you can get into a bit of a rhythm. Once you start to get a little bit more puffed, maybe then you're taking a nice big breath in through your nose and out through the mouth. And then we've sort of got half of the nose breathing happening. And then once our heart rate's up, we're getting puffed, we're getting tired, hopefully you're on the home leg, then we're puffing a bit with our mouth, okay? But the more you can breathe through your nose, the better it's gonna be. If you wear a smartwatch, it's not a bad idea to actually look at your heart rate as you're running, and maybe if not even as you run, maybe at the end, it's something you start to analyze, start to look at what your heart rate's doing, how high is it for how long, how low was it for how long, and comparing to your runs before and after with, different heart rate schedules, because the longer we can keep that heart rate down, the better you're going to feel in your run. And like I said, that also comes from going a bit slower than maybe you think you need to, because it's not a sprint, guys. It's a marathon of your distance, not an actual marathon, right? Tip 3, it's okay to walk. Now, I was under the impression when I first started running that when people said, oh, I ran 12 kilometers today, that they ran flat chat for 12 kilometers. Not knowing that a lot of people in their 12-kilometer run, maybe they do walk for, even just a few meters. They have to stop to tie their shoelace, stop to have a drink, stop to go to the toilet. Maybe they even sit down for a second to catch their breath. But they still did their 12 kilometers, right? It's okay. It's okay to walk. It's okay to stop for a second. It's okay to have a drink. It's not the end of the world. And especially for the guys doing this Hill to Harbour run, our goal is to complete this fun run, right? So if for you to get to 6 kilometers involves you walking for a little bit or stopping to have a drink for a little bit, it's not the end of the world. You've still completed that distance, right? So I think it's taking that pressure off yourself to know that, everyone's normal. Even the most elite runners or long distance runners, like people who are doing ultra marathons and stuff like this, do you think that they don't drink or eat or go to the toilet? Like, that's unrealistic. Those things have to happen. So even the most elite of athletes have to stop for a brief second to do those things. So just keep that in mind. It's okay to stop. It's okay to have a bit of food, go to the toilet, do all the things. It's okay to walk for a second and to get back into it. So don't be super hard on yourself when those things sort of come up. Leading me into our next point that I just talked about, and that is our nutrition. Our nutrition is so important for when we run. Now, when we run, in the actual run, from time you start to time you stop, you exert a lot of energy. You use a lot of fuel from your body for you to complete that activity, okay? If you do not have enough energy in your body to use it, you're probably going to feel like shit. You're going to have a shit run. You may feel a bit lightheaded. You may not be able to complete it. You may have really poor recovery, like you could be really, really sore and not be able to move afterwards. You could cramp. All these sorts of things could happen, right? Obviously at the risk of injury as well when you have poor nutrition. So we want to think about that before our run, we need to give ourselves energy to use. So it's not about, oh, I need to eat or whatever. I don't like eating before I train or whatever the thing is you're going to tell me. You actually need fuel to perform the exercise. The further you run, the more fuel you need. Think of it like a car. Your body's the car. You literally are a car. You're running kilometers. So if you're running 5 kilometers, you need enough fuel to get you 5 kilometers. You're going to have to eat more than what you would normally eat, because normally, you're not running 5 kilometers unless you're running 5 kilometers, right? So before you're running, you need to make sure you're having a form of carbohydrate, okay? Now, depending on, what you can stomach and the distance you're doing and stuff like that, that might be a banana. It might be a muesli bar. For some people, it might be some toast. For some people, it might be eggs on toast, It could be a combination of these things. Maybe some toast and a banana, right? But we want to have some form of carbohydrate. So as a little example, for myself, right now we've started at 6Ks. For the next few kilometer increases, because we are running first thing in the morning, I'm pretty okay with having a banana and running from probably 6 to 8Ks, I'm okay to do that. Once I probably get over 8Ks, I'm going to make sure that I'm having some toast. I'm probably going to have 2 slices of toast, maybe with some Vegemite or something on it before I run, a little bit more on my tummy. Once I get over 10, I'm probably going to make it a priority to get up a bit earlier and have eggs on toast. Now, the eggs themselves, the protein and the fats from the eggs, aren't going to necessarily be used as an immediate fuel source in my run, but it is going to assist me in my run slightly, and it's also just going to keep me a little bit fuller. So I'll actually just feel a little bit better having that little bit more in me to run. Now, that's our pre-nutrition for our runs. We're going to have some form of carbohydrate before we run. Now, as we get further and further and further into our run, a good little rule of thumb is if you run an hour, you need to have some sort of nutrition during your runs. And then every half an hour after that, you need to add in a bit more food. So if you run an hour, which a lot of people, that's 9, 10 Ks for an hour, we need to think about having some form of carbohydrate in our run. And this is because our good old toast and stuff we've had before we've ran, we've already used that stuff. It's gone. So we need to top that energy level up. We need a little mid-run petrol to get us through to the end. So that mid-run, I'm talking to my beginner guys out there. Obviously, there's more advanced things we can do, but maybe that's literally some lollies. When we were doing our City to Surf run, the gals would have a Ziploc bag with 5 Proto Frogs in their pocket, and they would be eating those as they get sort of throughout their run. For some people, they can have sports gels. Now, sports gels are essentially carbohydrates. You can get some with caffeine in them as well, but I find unless you're running a really long way, probably not super necessary. I'd stick just the carbs. But it's like a little gel you squirt in your mouth, essentially, and it's just pretty much pure carbs, and it's like a little fuel source. So maybe you're going to have something like that mid-run. But we're thinking when we hit about an hour, we want to have some form of fuel during our run to help keep us going. Now, once we've finished our run, we need to make sure that we top our food sources back up, and our food sources and fuel sources. So we said that we've used all this energy. Well, once you're finished, that tank is pretty much on empty. So I want you to try within the next hour after finishing your run, having a full meal. So that meal is going to have carbohydrates, it's going to have healthy fats, and it's going to have protein in it. Now, we want to make sure that we have that meal, we digest it, and you may be still even hungry after it because you've just used so much energy. Now, in terms of adding on to the nutrition, we're going to talk about hydration as well. Now, hydration is very important because obviously you sweat so much during your runs. That's a really big part of it. It's very easy to become dehydrated when you're running. So we want to think before our run that we're hydrated. You want to make sure that you've drunk enough, but obviously you've got to find that fine line where you're not going to need to go to the toilet a lot as well, because you don't want to be stopping every kilometre to go to the toilet. So having enough water in us, maybe even the 24 hours beforehand. During our run, potentially having some water as well. Again, depending on the distance. If you're running over an hour, I definitely would think about having some water, whether that's, you have a pack that you have water in or you stop at a bubbler. But then after we run is the most important part, to rehydrate, okay? We want to make sure that we're getting some water back in us, but ideally they're going to have some form of electrolytes or even salt in them so that our body can absorb the water. If not, it's probably going to run straight through you. So when you finish your run, maybe you have some water, maybe add a little bit of salt into it to add some sodium, or maybe you have some form of electrolytes in it. So that could be like some BCAAs, which is branched chain amino acids, which is like a supplementation, or maybe you have something like a Powerade, right? To get something in you afterwards. So there's sort of 3 phases of your nutrition that we sort of need to think about if you're running there, guys. You've got your pre, you've got your during, and you've got your after. You might be thinking, Olivia, I'm not that advanced in my running. Trust me, it will help. No matter what distance you're running, where you're at your running journey, having proper nutrition, proper hydration will help. Okay, next up, I can't remember what number we're on, but the next one is making sure that you are comfortable. Now, our clothing that we use is really important. It sounds like a silly thing, but if you have to keep pulling down your shorts or pulling up your tights or fiddling with your top or something like that, it's going to cause you to use more energy, probably get agitated, get over it, and it's probably going to affect your motivation to run again, let alone you actually probably even finishing your run. These things, when you're in the hurt locker, the little small things do add up. So you need to make sure that you're finding yourself a running outfit or outfits that feel good for you. We don't want to be getting chafed. We don't want to be touching our clothes. We want to be putting them on and we're locked and loaded. In saying that, I think being comfortable also comes with like your accessories that you have. So a lot of people struggle with what to do with their phone. So for me personally, I'm a big pockets in my shorts for my stuff. So I put my phone, my key, my gel, if I had one, they can all go in my pockets and I can run like that. You don't want to have to be fiddling with phones in your hands. We want to be able to focus on our run and not focus on holding onto your phone and stuff. That also comes with your headphones. Like you want to make sure that your headphones are going to be suitable for you. You know, they're not falling out, they're not moving around, they're not dying halfway through. Like all the little things that add up, they sound silly, right, guys? Like I'm talking about the 1%ers, but when you're first starting, these are all little things we could be doing to help you enhance your running experience, right? So finding some clothes, I'm really struggling with the words today, aren't I? Clothes that are comfortable, and then making sure that like as a total package, we're ready and prepared to go. That leads me into what you put on your feet matters, okay? Now this comes down to your socks. We'll start with the socks. We want to try and have a nice, firm, supportive pair of socks that are going to support our arch in our foot. They're not going to be too thick. They're not going to rub anywhere. It sounds silly, but sometimes if your socks are too thick, they can bunch up. They can, they can just be a bit of a hot mess and they can cause more pain in your foot than we need. You also can get quite sore toes when you run. It sounds, again, funny things to think about. But if you can have a good pair of socks that are, maybe proper running socks, they're aerating, they're going to let your foot move well in your shoe, it's going to help you. Now, the shoe, I actually think a shoe can make or break someone's running journey, because if you have a shit pair of shoes on, you're probably going to end up with sore ankles, calves, shins, knees, hips. Like it's going to have a lead-on effect to your body. So few things that go wrong with people, they have really old shoes they run in and they've got no support in them at all. So that's going to be a big boo-boo. They don't have shoes that fit correctly. So maybe they're too big or too small and they cause pain. Ideally, you don't want to have any pain in your feet. Like your feet themselves should feel fine during your run. And if they're not, there's something probably wrong. People always ask me what running shoes they should get. I'm not a huge expert on running shoes, guys. Like I don't know all the brands and all the best brands. And to be honest, a lot of them are like super expensive. And if you're not a professional runner, you probably don't need the best running shoes in the world. You just need a good supportive pair of shoes to run in. But if you're in Newcastle listening to this, I have got my last pair from Pure Performance in Newcastle in town. They're on Derby Street because they do like the proper like run test on your foot and stuff. And I just found they could guide me on a pair of shoes that were going to suit my foot accurately. And to be honest, whether you buy them there or not, at least you'll get a rough idea of what brand or what you're looking for. And then you could go find them on sale somewhere, or, keep it in the back of your mind of something that you should be looking out for. So you want to find a nice, good, comfortable pair of shoes that are actually going to help you do your run. Right? We want them to help you. We don't want them to hurt you. My last tip for my beginner runner is to just start. Okay? Just start running. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be professional, right? You just have to start. Whether that means you start running by doing 30 seconds on, 2 minutes of walking. 30 seconds on, 2 minutes of walking. That's a start. Then maybe the next week you do a minute on, 2 minutes of walking, a minute on, 2 minutes of walking. And you can slowly build from there, right, guys? It's not about going fast. It's not about going far. It's not about doing anything. It's about starting. And if you start, you can only get better. You can't get better unless you actually start and you actually, put your feet on the pavement and start moving forward, right? So this is my little wrap up of my beginner running tips and tricks. But for those who are doing the Hill to Harbour, or maybe those who have a run goal out there at the moment, just know that when you do have a goal and you are trying to reach it and you have a program or a guide, you've got to actually stick to the guide to get the results you want. So this is a little kick up the butt for all of my clients who are doing the Hilda Harbour Run Club program. I've given you guys these runs and this guidance for a reason, for you to reach your goal. If you don't follow the protocols of the runs and you don't do the runs, you don't give them a go, you're not going to get there, okay? So you do have to step outside of your comfort zone. You've got to plan your time to do it. You've got to be organized, and you've got to literally just get out there and get it done. I can't make it any more blunt than that, because sometimes it's hard, sometimes you don't want to do it, but in the end, you'll be proud of yourself for challenging yourself and being disciplined to actually do the thing. So hopefully this maybe motivated you to start your running journey, continue your running journey, something about your running journey. Like I said, I'm not a professional runner. I don't really like running, to be honest. I like the achievement of running. For me, I actually have been liking working on my cardiovascular health with running, because I love my strength training. It's very easy for me to neglect my cardiovascular fitness. So it's been really nice for me to do it in that way. I do think it can sometimes be a good mental cleanser when you're just out running. You don't really have to think too much, just to breathe and not stop. Yes, it's also a mental head game to run, but it can be nice just to be like mindless for a little bit as well. So hopefully this helps. Let me know. Hopefully all of my Hilda Harbour guys have listened to this. If you did, let me know, because I want to know that you're in on the know, you know. But yes, this is episode 16 of the Live Strong podcast. I'll be back at you next week. And that's all. Bye-bye.